This is the AEW review on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. New logo behind, new merch coming soon. But as you can see, if you're watching us on YouTube, and thank you if you are, or you're going to listen to us on Spotify, and thanks again for doing that. I am joined by my usual AEW. Is it? No, they don't do brochachos anymore, do they? It's not a thing now, is it? So my AEW co-host, the problem child returns from fixing boilers. Hello, Dave.
Hello, mate.
It's been
Back
a while.
better than ever.
It's a Bishop thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They've
Yeah.
got a knack of
I
making
knew you'd
things
get that
better.
reference. You actually said it to him, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, I
Yeah.
did. Yeah, as sad as I am, yeah, that is one of the things I. So I didn't ask him a 15-minute question, though.
No, no, I did go on at all. But
Anyway, how
we
have
need
you
to catch
been?
up with Eric soon, don't we? He said he could.
Definitely. I need to get those. I did email him actually a couple of weeks ago. I must get in touch with Eric. Eric, if you're listening, we're hunting to come back on and have another chat. But Dave, how are you?
I'm really good, mate. Really good. Really busy. Enjoying wrestling. Um, both companies. I think they've kind of they're differentiating quite well at the
Yep.
minute. No, it's not like AEW trying to be WWE or WWE trying to compete with what AEW have been successful at the last few years. It's like WWE are doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Absolute fantastic. SummerSlam was awesome. Really enjoyed it. But AEW have really put in a solid run of shows together. It was hampered a little bit this week, this
Yeah.
Dynamite by the Storm
Yeah.
and travel arrangements, but I still thought it was a pretty good Dynamite
Mhm.
and very, very focused on All In. Very
Yes.
like everything we saw was pretty much setting up, um, their biggest pay-per-view of the year. There was some criticism, if you remember last year going into All In, that it was a little bit
Matches.
last minute and we didn't have much announced. And, going into the pay-per-view, everything was kind of still being finalized. And then we got a few multi-person matches. This time, there's much more structure, a lot more storytelling, longer term storytelling.
Yeah.
So we're still a few weeks out, but it's shaping up to be a really good card, and we're getting some good build as well.
We are indeed, and obviously we're going to be getting together. We're all in,
Yeah,
meeting up
absolutely.
for the first time since September last year. Near enough, which is
Yeah.
late. Nearly been a year since we started. But yes, we'll be all in it together this year. So we'll see each other at Wembley, take some pictures for our fans that are watching. I say it feels weird to say that, I know. But yeah, AEW's been great. Wrestling's been great as a whole. Let's talk. There's obviously some news with AEW. We need to talk about it. Some of the stuff that I don't really want to talk about, but it is out there to talk about. But first things first, departures. The name ring is rearing its ugly head again, and that the name of Ricky Starks is once again, it's seemingly WWE bound, or so if you believe reports. It's nothing official yet. Um, I've said all along, I don't see Ricky Starks making it in WWE. I could be totally wrong with that, but I've said it on this show enough that I don't believe Ricky Starks should go WWE. But he's close with Cody. He was training with Jade Cargill the other week, seemingly, according to reports, again rejecting storylines at AEW. You don't if you're gonna leave, fine, but you don't want to leave on a sour note, do you?
Yeah, there's a way to do business, isn't there? And
Hmm.
if that is true, we don't know for
Yeah.
sure, but sometimes no smoke without fire.
Hmm.
We've heard it in the past about him as well. I think that Ricky Starks is too talented a performer to be not be on television week in, week out at this stage in his career. So if it is that he goes to WWE, I think he's probably got the best chance that he's ever had in the last 20, 30 years of being a success there, given what's going on there and given who's had a creative.
Mhm.
As you say, close with Cody. Um, Remains to be seen. I share your fear that, he could be stuck in the mid card and not really, at the level that his talent. We've seen him in main event programs in AEW. We saw prior to Punk leaving that he was perhaps being lined up for even if it wasn't a run with the title, it was a run at the top of the card and a match
Yeah.
with Punk. Um, Whether he gets those type of opportunities in WWE will remain to be seen. Um, but I think him in the mid card in WWE is better than him not being on television at all or not
True.
involved or being unhappy or causing any kind of um, bad feeling or locker room issues in AEW. If it's not going to work, and he wants to go, and there's an opportunity, then kind of good luck to him, really. I think it's dragged on long enough now. I'm glad that Big Bill has kind of gone on and done some
Yeah,
entertaining stuff, and he hasn't been held back too much because obviously he was in the tag team with Ricky.
yeah,
So I think it's about time that everybody moved on, and yeah, it's something that we've spoke about in the past.
yeah.
I totally expect him to be showing up in WWE sometime soon, and then it was just a case of how well he can do there, and it's over to him to a degree. It's over to Triple H and see how they position him. But they've certainly done a good job with Cody, obviously, and a lot of other guys that have gone into WWE in recent times.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I think with Ricky, it's gone on, as you said, way too long. We were talking about this probably start of the year, maybe time,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
back end of last year, perhaps, maybe something like that. It's gone on too long, which indicates he hasn't been on TV long enough to indicate that you would assume, and I think it's right for us to assume that he's heading out of the door, along with two other people. Again, WWE bound, and we're going to talk about actually another. We'll talk about another tag team that perhaps is WWE bound as well in a minute. But this is the AEW tag team, WWE bound Penta and Ray Phoenix. Again, apparently they're so again. This is all speculation. We don't know this factually, but by the sounds of it, their match at All In, they were going to have a trios championship match with the Death Triangle were meant to be involved in. That's been pulled. They've tried to trademark their names, and Ray Phoenix has recently pulled out of an independent show due in September. Um, Again, with these two, I think they're brilliantly talented. I just don't think the WWE right now with what they're doing with their masked luchas, I don't think it's again the right move for them. WWE fumbled Dragon Lee. The only really lucha that they haven't really fumbled has been Rey Mysterio, and he's been there for years. Dragon Lee they fumbled. I don't know many others there right now. Is this a case of perhaps WWE trying to broaden their lines in Mexico again because they're doing a lot of international stuff?
Yeah, that may well be part of it. Um, Personally, I do think at times that the Lucha Brothers have been um, I don't know. I think they've been in good matches. They've been in good stories. They've had good matches in pay-per-views, and some of the best matches we've seen in AEW. Um, but I don't know. They've been taken for granted a little bit for me. They've just kind of there, and I don't think Tony Khan or anybody there would have necessarily expected them to jump to WWE. But when you look at it, we have long periods where we don't see much of them. And then they'll pop up and they'll be in a bit of a mini feud and stuff, and then they can be the next few pay-per-views. They're on the pre-show
Yeah.
or not on it at all. So they've been tag team champions. They've been trios champions. Uh, it, Ray's been international champion. There was calling a long time ago for Penta to, Penta was a real star,
Mhm.
at times, and people wanted him more involved in a singles run. Doesn't look like that's going to come. So I totally understand them looking at their options. I mean, these are two guys that a few years ago I saw them at a show in
Yes.
Wolverhampton, and they were there selling t-shirts at their table, like a lot of independent wrestlers do. But they were there at the start, they were there at the end. Prior to that, and this is according to Denise Salcedo on Fightful, they used to be on the streets selling gum out of their cars. They've from that
Yeah.
level of hustle to make ends meet to suddenly be in a well, not suddenly, to be in a position now where they could be signing for the biggest wrestling company in the world and getting a run in WWE. I don't think anybody could begrudge them that. And I hope they go there, if they do go there, and it's successful and they're great and they've certainly got the talent in the ring. Say WWE hasn't got a good record with luchadors.
No.
But I'm sure we'd have some pretty fun matches there. And, again, I wouldn't want to deny them that opportunity, given the fact that they've done quite a lot in AEW. And I think there is a ceiling there that they're not gonna. I don't see them really going on to do anything
Hmm.
It doesn't seem like they'll be positioned that way, unfortunately, as single stars, and they've done everything they can in the tags and triple threat, trios division. So yeah, sad to some respects for AEW fans, and there'll be a big miss. But I'm excited to see what they can do over in WWE as well, if that is where they go.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Another tag team that was going WWE, then looked like they were going AEW, now look like coming back to WWE is Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah.
Seemingly, again, this isn't confirmed by any stretch of the imagination. Seemingly on their way now to WWE again. We'll probably read tomorrow that it's back to AEW, but are they putting an emphasis because we've just talked about Penta and Ray Phoenix? Potentially the Motor City Machine Guns. Are they potentially looking to revamp and take tag team wrestling seriously again in the WWE? Where, AEW has done that brilliantly over the 5 years or so that it's been going. Is WWE trying to revitalize their tag division?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. It is one of, I wouldn't call it necessarily a weakness at times, but sometimes in the we've had a run of champions in recent years that have not been, I wouldn't say thrown together, but unlikely
Yeah.
partnerships that have become champions. I mean, even I think did the champions change again this week on Raw?
Uh, no, not this week. The Bloodline won it last week from DIY, who won it from A Town Down Under, which is probably where you're hinting at Theory
Oh,
and
I've
Waller.
lost, I think, mate.
Ah. So basically, while Dave has gone a bit solo, I'll go solo for a minute. Basically, are you
Don't
back
know if
now?
it's me or you, mate.
Are you back?
Ah, you're back. I
Back.
don't know if
Right.
that was me or you, but yeah, we've seen Jey Uso and Cody have the titles, haven't we, over there? And we've
Yeah.
seen other teams like that where you're not necessarily a recognized tag team. So to get some teams in like the Motor City Machine Guns, like the Lucha Brothers, that's exciting. There's some good potential there. I think the Guns were in line to be in the position like the Acclaimed are in at the minute in
Mm.
AEW. I think they were going to be part of Blood and Guts from what I read.
Yeah.
And then obviously we had the rumors of WWE, and then yes, seemingly things changed again. So we'll see. But wherever they show up, they'll be a great addition to the tag team division. I kind of, this is an AEW show, and I'm talking about a lot of people going to WWE, but I wouldn't mind seeing that. Like again, the company's doing different things, and WWE getting the Guns and the Lucha Brothers is that's a definite step in a different direction for WWE, and it's good to see that at times.
Yeah, definitely. So now we're talking about someone that may be going AEW finally after a lot of WWE talk. Someone by the name of Bobby Lashley. Contract is apparently up this week. Lots of interest, potentially AEW. Is there a point though, Bobby, and given Bobby Lashley's age, I'm not saying that he can't go in the ring, but he is probably at my age, maybe a bit older. Should AEW be focusing on younger talent, or do you see Bobby Lashley as that talent you would make an exception for?
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure. I think Bobby Lashley's had a great career. He's done some great stuff in WWE, he's done some great stuff in TNA as well. I enjoyed his run in TNA, possibly more so than his run in WWE.
Yeah.
A few times, the stuff that I've really liked is the start of stuff in WWE, and it hasn't really led anywhere. I think the Hurt Business, I quite enjoyed that at the time, and it kind of, yeah, just disappeared pretty quickly, and they were broken up. And then even the stuff with the Street Profits, I thought there was a bit of potential there for something to be really
Yeah.
good. So yeah, if Bobby Lashley showed up in AEW, I wouldn't be disappointed. But I think if he's just there for a payday or something, I wouldn't necessarily want that. If he was involved in a good program with some younger talent, and it's a draw for the company, then I wouldn't necessarily be against it. Again, something a bit different for AEW. We've criticised AEW at times for not using their big guys, but
Yeah.
Lashley's somebody that could go in there and he could definitely be a world champion. It could, you could see him having those matches at the top of the card. He's in great physical condition, I'm sure that he's got a lot left in the tank. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where he lands. I think his time in WWE he's up, to be honest. I think
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if he reappears there. It would be for me if he's going to stay in wrestling, back to TNA or possibly, as you say, a run in AEW.
Well, TNA would be basically be going WWE anyway at the minute with all of the stuff you've got going on there. But we'll find out with Lashley. One last thing before we get into Dynamite, and it's something that I don't like to talk about, but I've got an observation about this that I need to talk to you about. So, look, there's been another incident, shall we say, this time with Britt Baker and MJF. We're not going to get into the what happened, did this happen, did that happen. Basically, there was a confrontation a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite, which led to Britt Baker being suspended. We don't know the ins and outs. We're not going to speculate on it. Here's my thing on this, Dave. I'm at the point that I think that this still happens in every company, in every organization. Why is it that the only time that if it happens in WWE, we don't know about it until one of them has gone late, it could be years later, and they tell a story on one of these podcasts. Why is it that every time something happens in AEW, it is leaked almost immediately to the media, who then ramp up some cock and bullshit story a lot of the times out of 10? Is it a case where maybe AEW need to start clamping down on the leaks out to the press?
Yeah, there's obviously people there that have got connections with wrestling journalists and the dirt sheets, if you like. Um, and I think, we're huge fans. Wouldn't necessarily call myself an insider, if you like, but you know, I, I do enjoy, that's what we discuss a lot of, the stuff that goes
Mhm.
on outside the ring and backstage and contract speculation. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But yeah, like you say, there's certain things that should stay in the locker room. It's the same in football. It's the same in soccer. Any other sport, it's going to be a very competitive environment with a lot of, tempers flaring and stuff that happens that um, once they've calmed down, it's not a big deal. It can be
Mm.
dealt with very quickly. What makes it a bigger deal is when it's leaked to the press, and as you say, it gets escalated, and then the company has to take disciplinary action because of you know, the impression that people would have of the company. Where really, those type of issues, if they were kept in house, they could be dealt with very quickly, very swiftly, and they can move on.
Mm.
So I totally agree. I think there's obviously somebody or people there that are close with, the likes of the Meltzers and the Sean Ross Sapps and and I'm absolutely don't mind that. That's great.
Mm.
Get great contact. But when it's stuff like this, when it's just negative, I wish we didn't hear about it, to be honest. As you say, it goes on everywhere, it goes on in every workplace,
Yeah.
regardless. I would rather that not make headlines and be the stories that people read, and it was all just positive stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you even got Conan coming out saying now this Britt Baker thing is not necessarily that, but there were incidents in AW with Britt Baker and Tony Khan taking her side. What? And that's why Cody left. I mean, this is type of stuff that you're now gonna. It's just going to be prolonged, and we just don't care. Like all I'm care about with AW is what goes on inside that ring on weekly television. If it was just an argument, why do we need to know? And then you get, oh, MJF punched a wall, MJ, and you're like, come on, like seriously, this isn't,
Yeah.
as you say, arguments happen all the time, disagreements happen all the time, even if it's just,
Sometimes, some can be used, like real life stuff can
yeah,
make stories, and I do get that. And I think even like the Punk and the Book stuff, we were all hankering at the time for that, that trios match, Punk and
yeah,
FTR against Kenny and the Bucks, and turn that situation into something positive.
yeah,
There's always going to be an element of that, but like when it's something seemingly so like petty, as just a falling out or
mm,
something, as you say. MJS punched a wall and so's not talking to us. It's yeah, I'd rather not hear about it. I'd rather not like be on the wrestling websites and seeing those articles. It's clickbait. It's it's rubbish, to be honest. It's garbage. It's not news as such. So I wish it wasn't out there in the first place because it just, people that there's certain websites that kind of get all the stories together, and they're not really breaking news,
No.
but they're merging the content, or there's a word I'm searching for here, not collaborating, but there's a lot of the wrestling stories they put it out on their news feed as one place for wrestling fans to find it, and when it's just full of negative stuff and that type of thing, I don't think it does. I don't think it helps anybody. It doesn't help the companies, the performers, the industry, the fans. It's just negative for the what sake of being negative. It's just gossip, isn't it, rather than news.
Yeah, exactly that. Let's not dwell on this. Let's get into AEW, as you say, travel
Aggregator, that was the word I was looking for. Aggregators. Sorry,
aggregators.
let's move on.
That's fine. You finally found the word you were looking for. I'm happy that you've done that. Let's get into Dynamite. As you said, travel issues prevented a lot of people from getting there. The card that was advertised prior to the travel issues, they were all there, so that was all fine. I think MJF even drove to where he had to get to, which was around 11 hours drive. We're going to start with MJF, fun enough, because the first match was with Kyle Fletcher. What I thought about this match, because I know that Cole Fletcher's fought Ospreay in the past. And I know the storyline is kind of MJF is going after a lot of Ospreay's protégés. He's obviously got Michael Oku coming up this coming Sunday at Revolution Pro, which could really impact All In. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could potentially happen there. But I thought this was what I would class as Carl Fletcher's. What is the term for this? I wouldn't say coming out because that sounds really bad. It doesn't mean
Breakout match.
breakout match to prove what a star that he is. They did tease a bit more of an issue with the Don Callis family, which I think is ultimately going to end up with the United Empire joining forces and to go against the Don Callis family eventually. But this was his breakout match for me. Although MJF won it, it just went to prove what an absolute star Fletcher is.
I loved it. I got thoughts on that as well. I'll give you them in a minute on the Don Callis family
Mm.
situation. But I thought this match was sensational.
Yeah.
And to be honest, MJF and Carl Fletcher, they're always in good matches. I can't even say they rarely have a bad match because I don't think they ever have a bad match, to be honest.
No.
I thought that moment as well, when Fletcher kind of stood out in the crowd and he held his arms out
Yeah.
and he's bulked up a bit and he's kind of got new gear and he just looked like a star. I just thought we've given him a lot of plaudits over a lot of people have.
Mm.
He's such a talented wrestler, but he's starting to look like a star now and not just somebody on the roster. Um, in terms of the Osprey stuff, I think they'll go the other way. And I know we all think they'll United Empire will reform. I actually think when Mark Davies comes back, I think Fletcher and Davies turn on Osprey, and that'll
Oh.
lead to I know we've had one match with Osprey and Fletcher, but under different circumstances, they were friends and it was a competitive,
Mm.
spirited affair. I think it would be more of a blood feud and born on the fact that they turn on him. Davis himself, he's a top talented performer, but I think a huge pay-per-view match after turning on him could be on the horizon for Osprey and Fletcher. We could be talking a few months away yet, but I think that's the way they'll go rather than getting back together. I think they will actually stay aligned with Callis.
Interesting.
Um, but yeah, this match was perfect. There was some great spots in it. That cradle DDT in
Mm.
particular was good. And I liked the finish as well. I liked the finish because you had the screwdriver involvement
Yeah.
and Fletcher decided not to use it. Hit with a low blow, kangaroo kick, brainbuster, game over. Thought it was really good. Protected him in the finish as well.
Yeah, and it did, absolutely did. I just wonder because, obviously I've talked about Oku on here and MJF. We're all assuming MJF is facing Osprey at Wembley, and then maybe he will. But is there an outside chance? I mean, I was talking to Chris, the promoter at Ignite, months and months ago, and we said that basically it's a matter of time before Oku ends up in America or, with one of the
Yeah.
big companies. I'm not saying he's going to beat MJF on Sunday and go on to face Osprey All In, but if you think about, they've got a trilogy, and I think it's one each between them two now. Could, and it could potentially involve Daniel Garcia, depending on how his injury is and re-signing with the company. Could they pull off a quote unquote swerve here and have Oku beat MJF, maybe with some help from Danny Garcia, and have Oku go against Osprey for the All American Championship at All In? Because he's apparently going to be on the collision taping in Cardiff. He's going to have some involvement there. He's going to be all in for AEW. And on top of that, do you think it's a matter of time before Michael Oku is all elite?
Yeah, I think 100%. I see Oku being a star in AEW. I think he'd be a star anywhere, to be honest. I think if he went to NXT, he'd be a star there, and he'd someday get onto the main roster over there. I think in AEW, and I hope he goes to AEW. I think his style would fit there. It would complement, you know, some of the matches that he could have with
Mhm.
some of the guys there, Osprey in particular. Um, yeah, now you mention it, that could well happen. Whether they do, I don't know, because Osprey MJF is the marquee match, and
Yeah,
I know we've already seen it once.
yeah,
Um, but I think that's a huge match. As a hardcore fan, if you like, I would be more than happy to see Oku Osprey and Garcia MJF at All In. I think both
yeah.
of those two matches I'll be totally satisfied with. Um, I don't know how much mainstream appeal that would have, but I don't know. It's a difficult one to say, isn't it? Because AEW is an alternative. It's it isn't the mainstream company WWE is. They haven't got like the household names. But I would argue that Osprey is the biggest star to come out of the UK in a long time. But then I would also say that Oku is the next one. So yeah, I would personally love to see that at All In. So both I can't, both options are great to me. Well, as we're getting, as we're expecting, Osprey MJF, or if they do a swerve, and we've seen them do it. We've seen them AEW wrestlers get involved
Yeah.
on the independent shows, certainly in and around All In, like we saw last year.
Jericho.
We saw Orange Cassidy. We saw Tony Khan with Orange Cassidy watching Michael Oku. I don't
Yeah.
know if it was early on this year or later on last.
February. I was there.
Yeah, so I'm sure Oku is going to feature prominently. Just how much he'll feature in All In this year remains to be seen. But if not this year, I'm sure he'll be there next year because, as you say, it's a matter of time before we see him full time with the company.
Coincidentally, at the Copper Box the night before All In, Oku does take on Luke Jacobs for the Rev Pro Heavyweight Championship. I'm not saying that. I mean, Luke Jacobs has just won the Progress Wrestling Championship. He could be one of the first guys to hold both main British champ. I don't know anybody that's held it at the same time.
Nothing.
But if Oku is going to be all elite, so to speak, be a great way to end it with Jacobs becoming the next one on the production line, so to speak.
So, what's the time scale? When is that match? The night before?
So MJF,
Oku.
what we're talking about? Who Jacob?
Jacob Oku.
Night before
So there is a hypothetically, Oku could beat MJF
Sunday.
with or without help from Daniel Garcia
Mhm.
this weekend, and Jacobs could beat Oku with or without help from MJF the night before All In.
Yes, hypothetically speaking, Dave.
Not
Fantasy.
beyond the realms of possibility, is it?
It's not, of course. It's absolutely not, and I'm very intrigued by it. I do, but I also think Lou Jacobs should be already over there as well. I have to, not well, with a company in America. I'm not saying
He had a
AEW.
match last year at the Copper Box,
Jacobs.
yeah, against Ishii.
Yes,
It was sensational.
hard
It
hitting. I
such a
still
great
don't
match.
think. I still don't think. Did Ishii win that or did Jacobs win it? You were there, right? 'Cause I'm not sure that
Yeah, I think Jacobs won.
did it. Because I'm not sure. I didn't think he'd beaten Ishii. I thought that was one of the. Anyway, we're talking British independence. We'll look at that. Anyone knows, just tell us. Uh, let's talk about another great. See, let's talk about another great thing, right? Because one thing that's been very critical of AEW storylines have been very critical over the years, and we just had that one. And obviously, there's a Tiger Driver 91 situation, which I'm sure Ospreay's going to beat MJF with All In should that match happen. Um, Mariah May, the glamour Mariah May, timeless Tony Storm. The story is set. Mariah May beat Viva Van this week on Dynamite, and basically she got gifted a present. Picture was of Mariah May, and on the back of it was Die Mariah Die. Tony Storm in this new crazy version of timeless Tony Storm come out. They battled to hell and back. I'm loving this. I don't think that the ends are all in. I think this match should have a gimmick match to end the feud. So I think they're going to have a match at All In. Someone's obviously one of them will win it, but I want to see it go maybe lights out or something along those lines because this feud has been so good it deserves a big ending.
Yeah, yeah, they haven't really put a foot wrong with this story from
No.
start to finish. And even now, like we're getting this Tony still the timeless Tony still, but like a new iteration of it, a
Yeah.
heart in the way she dresses, the way she's got a hair scraped back. As you say, die Mariah, die. Like she's proper been, pushed past her limits, and I think they've both done such an excellent job with this. I think Mariah May will take the title at All In, you know,
Oh,
in London as well.
okay.
That's what I expect to happen. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think the storytelling in general has been a lot better like the past year,
Yeah.
the last 9 months or so. We've got some real, the Hangman swerve stuff, which
Mhm.
we'll get to Hangman. Um, that has just festered in the background for so long, and it's brilliant. And it doesn't look like that's going to be paid off anytime soon. Certainly not at All
Oh,
In. But it's still there, and such a great story. And in that as well, it's just fascinating. Hangman, really, on paper, he's the face, but
yeah.
he's not. He's the heel.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you totally kind of sympathize with him in some respects, and that's one of the better stories in the Mariah May Tony Storm story. That's a great story as well. The stuff that we've had with MJF recently. He's back to his best as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
As one of the best heels in the company. I think they're doing a lot right, and I think this is going to be a huge match, and it's about time that we get in those big matches for the women on the main stage as well as for the men. Because that's
Absolutely.
what, WWE have done well at that SummerSlam. They had two incredible women's matches in Nia Jax Bailey and, of course, Liv and Rhea. And AEW are doing a great job by their women as well at the minute, and it's good to see.
Yeah, Borat match this week on Collision as well. Deanna Purrazzo and Thunder Rosa. I
Yeah.
believe. A comical bit that happened. I don't know if it happened to us. It didn't happen to me as such, but if you watched it over in America, a Taco Bell commercial aired halfway through Jack Perry's promo.
Yeah.
Which was quite funny. Anyway, they're going to have their match at Wembley. We won't talk about that. That will be a good one to leave into Wembley. Uh, we have the next phase of the Jericho learning tree. Brian Keith against Shibata this week on a Dynamite. It was kind of it was really. I feel like Brian Keith was going through his catalog of moves, and all of a sudden Shibata submitted him, and it was kind of over. There was obviously a lot of work at the end of this to build to the return of Hook, who come out and made the save for this. Are we going to see this all in, or we've also got to remember? I think it's 2 weeks later this time. Is All Out. Have we got to make? We've got to make some assumptions that some of these matches will probably air 2 weeks later down the line.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we know that Jericho's at All In because Fozzy are playing
Yes.
the Friday.
Yeah.
So fully expect Jericho to be on the card in some capacity. So it kind of
Mhm.
makes sense for him to be defending um, the FTW title against Hook. So even if it's on the pre-show, if you like, or the
Yeah.
zero hour or whatever they're going to call it. So yeah, I think that's probably the way it goes. But I don't know if I necessarily want to see Hook win that title back again. I'm not sure. He's had it twice now. Um, I thought it was probably time to start moving in a different direction with Hook, but they've gone back to it. Um, and yeah, I expect him to have that singles match at All in some capacity, whether it's on the main show or not. Um, Ishii won that match, by the way. I'll just sneak.
Oh, you did,
Yeah,
Ishii.
yeah. So yeah, Luke Jacobs coming up short last year, but then a year later to be in a position where he's going to take the main title. Yeah, pretty good story in itself.
Yeah, there you go. So we've killed two birds with one stone. Now we found out Luke Jacobs didn't beat Ishii last year, as well as sorry, not Orange, Hook going after FTR. Now, speaking of Orange, it sets us up nicely. Orange FTR against Strong, Roosh, and Mortos. I love Mortos. I think he's great. I think there's a star there in the making. Roosh not been that, been a bit disappointed with him since he's come back, but I'm sure better things are on the horizon. This was, that was all action, this six man. It was tough to keep your eyes on at some time. I was surprised that Roosh was the one that took the fall. I perhaps
Yeah.
thought Roddy would have took the fall on that. But it wasn't the end. Obviously, the acclaimed come out at this to kind of challenge it. Well, they kind of brawled with FTR on this, and it looks as though we're going to be getting the acclaimed and FTR perhaps are all in. But more importantly than that, the Casino Battle Royale we're going to be getting for a future World Heavyweight title shot. They seem to be giving out these World Heavyweight title matches quite a bit. There was the Royal Rampage at Darby Allin won a shot at Grand Slam, I think.
Yeah.
So we're going
Oh
to have
yeah,
a
world, yeah.
yeah. So just to touch on that, obviously, I want your thoughts on that match, but also, do you think that the Casino Royale Battle Royale will be the perfect time for AEW to bring in Ricochet?
Yeah, yeah. I think that would be the perfect opportunity to introduce him. Because they do a Joker still
Yes, yeah,
wild card, so
yeah,
yeah, I could 100% see him being involved with that, and that's going to be all in, is it? I missed that.
yeah, yeah. So all in, yeah, Casino Royale Battle Royal, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So some other people, Roosh might be someone like going back to that match. I was
Mhm.
surprised that they lost that team because that team of Roddy, Roosh, and Morto, they won their first match as a trio
Yeah.
last week against the conglomeration who, were seemingly being built up as a new faction.
Mm.
So for them to lose the next match, I thought that was a bit strange. Interestingly, they came out to Roosh's music where they came out to the Kingdoms last
Yeah.
week. So then to see Roosh be the one to take the pin was strange to me, but they're doing obviously something with Don Callis, and that may all play into that. So
Mhm.
hopefully it's not just another loss for Roosh, and there's a bit of story behind it, and there's a bit of redemption, or a reset, or yeah, something along the lines. But I was surprised to see them lose, but yeah, as you know, I'm a big fan of El Toro Blanco,
You are.
um, and I think the FTR acclaim stuff as well. I like that pull apart at the end, and I think
Mhm.
that'll be a good match. I like what they're doing there. They're building that more so on Collision. And Caster's mic didn't work, which I don't know if that was meant to be the case or not. They seem to cover for it pretty well. Um, but yeah, maybe another technical difficulty there.
Carter, press the wrong button.
Yeah,
So sorry.
yeah, bitch.
Bitch. Yeah. Yeah. Love that. I love his work in AEW. He's not on this week. Probably still selling the staple to the finger. For
Yeah, we've got a face off with Claudio next week because Claudio won
us.
the triple threat for a shot at the
Yes.
title.
Yeah. Also coming up on Collision this week, Christian is going to be the referee for the match with House of Black and Bang Bang Gang. So that should be interesting. Dave's turned on a light.
Yeah, sorry.
He was just like kind of disappearing into darkness.
I'm hiding. I mean, when we started doing when I joined the podcast, I had my own little man cave that I could sneak away and sit at the table and use my microphone and my headset. Now my man cave is a playroom for the kids. So it's a podcast. I have to come and sit on the bed. So yeah, I'm working on my next man cave.
Working on the next man cave, so we'll get there. Hopefully, we'll see that in the future. Let's go to great, a great thing now. Camille. So she finally signed with AW. I wasn't a fan of her being Mercedes' muscle. I find Camille. I feel that's a bit beneath Camille. I get that Mercedes, because I don't know, maybe the spoiled brat thing kind of playing into what Britt Baker was saying. But I mean, Camille squashes two talents this week. That was obviously on the card. I'm kind of already looking forward to seeing Camille on her own rather than having her pairing Mercedes.
Yeah, I understand that take. But obviously you're a big NWA fan as well, and you've seen a lot of Camille's
Yes.
work.
Yeah,
I think when she disappeared from NWA, it'd been quite a while.
yeah,
Like, she was quite a long absence, so I don't actually mind her being with Mercedes,
mhm,
who kind of the biggest, one of the biggest stars.
yeah,
Yeah, certainly one of the biggest female stars in wrestling. Full stop. Um, so yeah, I don't mind it, but I hope it's not long term, as you say, because I think she's too good. She's too talented. We
yeah,
saw glimpses of that in this match. You know what she can do.
mhm,
She's something very different. You know, she's like, dare I say it, a bit of an upgrade on Jade Cargill because
yeah.
she's
Agreed.
much better in the ring.
Yeah,
Um, Big presence.
mhm,
Impressive physique. So yeah, I'm really, I think that's a real big win for AEW to have signed Camille, to be honest. And I
yeah.
think moving forward, once she's done with the Mercedes bodyguard, kind of shtick, we will see her in some main events of her own right and future women's champion in AEW 100%.
Yeah, definitely. She's tremendous. You're right. I have seen her in NWA, so I kind of already know what you're going to get. But yeah, I suppose because she was signed forever. I think she signed back in like February, March time, maybe, and we
Yeah.
haven't, seen her since then. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to Britt Baker, Mercedes, All In. I don't know if like I'm looking forward to it from a storyline perspective. I haven't been a great fan of Mercedes's work straight away. And a lot of that could be injury related and, feeding, and I feel as if she hasn't wrestled enough to get away that ring rust. Because when you come back from an injury, the first thing you do is you get back in there. She's probably doing the training on the outside. I know she's gone through a divorce as well, which she's made public this week. But I just feel that sometimes when you come back from injury, the first thing you need to do more of is wrestle.
Yeah, because I've been surprised. We have seen a lot of her. She's
Mm.
been in attendance a lot
Yeah.
more often than not. She's been there, but we haven't seen her have too many matches. Um, Going back to the match that she had with Stephanie Vacour,
Yeah.
obviously she's gone on to sign for WWE, but that was a great match, I thought.
Yeah.
And she has, shown glimpses of it, but yeah, we haven't seen enough of it. But I suppose they would argue that she's a bit of an attraction.
Mhm.
Um, and as I say, because of that fact, I don't mind that Camille's with her because any kind of, I don't say casual fans, but anybody that perhaps is familiar with her as Sasha Banks,
Mm.
now checking her out in AEW sees that, who's aligned with her at the minute, and that couldn't rub off, I suppose, and put a bit of that stardust on Camille. So yeah, I know what you're saying. It hasn't been. It could have gone better in AEW so
Yeah.
far. And I think part of that is because we haven't seen her wrestle too much, but hopefully she's going to be there for some time and we're going to get some really good matches. And incidentally, I think the match with Britt will be a good match. And I
Yeah.
do like the story that's gone into that so far.
Yeah, definitely so. We'll find out when we're there live, all in just a few short weeks. But we're getting to the main event now. I loved Ricky Steamboat's music. I just think that was great for him to join the commentary box from him. No DQ, Jarrett and Danielson. I loved it. I felt for me this was like Jarrett's probably best match I've seen in a while. Obviously, going against Danielson, you know that Danielson's going to be great, whether he's cleared or not. Well, he was cleared to wrestle this match, I suppose. And this one, no DQ, chair assisted Poseidon knee. But then we come out with Swerve at the end, and he was going to basically show Danielson next week when he takes on Wheeler Yuta why he's the most dangerous man in AEW. Very interesting. I love that closing segment because you can just imagine next week Yuta's going to be probably pissing out with blood, and it's going to be kind of maybe Swerve putting the thought in Danielson's head that perhaps he's not going to beat him at All In and his career's over.
Yeah, yeah. I loved the closing segment. I loved. I enjoyed the Jarrett Danielson match. I thought
Mm,
it was a good move as well, making it like a no DQ falls count anywhere.
yeah.
I think Jarrett is in great physical condition, keeps himself
Hmm.
in great nick, and he can still go. But he is a little bit more limited than the Danielson, who he's kind of winding down, but he's still very much at the top of his game.
Yeah.
One of the best to ever done it. So I think that did. And that in terms of story as well, Danielson wasn't facing Jeff Jarrett, the former world champion.
No.
He was facing one of the most dastardly, sneakiest
Yeah.
wrestlers, that use underhanded tactics. So it's kind of helping Danielson prepare for Swerve.
Yeah.
Seeing that mentor type role of Jarrett backstage when he was
Yeah.
kind of Danielson the pep talk.
Yeah.
So it's kind of thrown everything at Danielson and go, yeah, you ready for Swerve? So I enjoyed that as well. I think the match against Wheeler Yuta will be great. We all expect Swerve to pick up the win, but it's how they do it, which will be interesting to me. And
Mm.
as you say, if that plants the seed of doubt into Danielson's mind. Um, One thing I'd also just like to mention, we saw JR interviewing
Yeah.
Swerve
We
during the
did.
show,
Yeah.
and just it was great to see JR. I don't 100% know his state at the minute, his physical health.
Yeah.
Uh, he did seem to be struggling a little bit with
Mm.
his speech, which was really sad to see. Voice of our childhood, Excalibur called him the Hall of Fame voice of wrestling,
Yeah.
and yeah, I just want to give JR his flowers
Yeah.
now while he's still involved and we're still getting to see him on perhaps explain why we don't see him on commentary very much
Yeah.
anymore. But to be able to see him sitting with a world champion in the back, and they could kind of edit it nicely as well to get the presentation we did. I thought that was great, and a nod to AEW, to Tony Khan, and it was just great to see JR in that position still.
Certainly was, and a fitting way to end a really good Dynamite with that, giving JR his flowers. Brilliant show. Looking forward to the weekend. Yes, I am on holiday, but I will still be bringing the shows to. Was it the Crime Time used to bring the hood to you? I think I'll be bringing the shows to you. Collision, Rampage. SmackDown. I try and get SmackDown out tomorrow if I can in the morning before I get my flight. It all depends on how lazy I am, to be quite honest. In the
Oh, you're
morning,
not lazy, mate. You're the hardest working man in the podcast world, and what you've been doing the last few weeks has been pretty incredible. So I'm going to give you some flowers as well.
not literally. Thank you, thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. Just a big shout out to EC3. Alan from Blacksmith Apparel, Mike Mondo, whose interview will drop in a couple of weeks. I know we're talking AEW, but big shout out to TNA. Thanks for the Speedball Bailey interview this week. That's a great one to watch. Go watch yourself with that when that hits. Where are we? We're going to be at All In on the 24th, 5th August. Yeah,
Six, I thought it was.
shut up now. No, don't say I've got that wrong. It's 25th, Dave. 26th is the bank holiday Monday.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, I got it right. Come on.
Yeah, I'm going down to Cornwall then. So
Are you going down on the next day?
yeah, yeah,
Wow, interesting. So I'm going
a lot of
tomorrow.
travel.
Yeah, you got some traveling to do. September the 15th, Ignite. Mark's first title defense since we've last spoke, Dave. Mark True is our champion.
Yeah, yeah.
True is our champion. True, but not for long, because his response to my title match was that is absolute bollocks. That was,
Okay.
but I would say just quickly.
Expecting a kid, is he as well? Did I say?
That's literally what I was going to say. Congratulations to Mr. True. You
Oh,
can do something properly. But no, in all seriousness, congratulations to Mark on becoming A, the turnbuckle champion, and B, expecting a child next year. So congratulations to you. But your first title match, my friend, is in a fatal four-way match against JJ Gao and CPF, Danny Black, and Joe Lando. So that title reign may be hanging by a thread before it even begins, my man. Coming off the back of that, we will be at Progress Wrestling, I believe, in September. I want to say we're not going to Progress the day after All In. There's no chance of me doing that, unfortunately. After the last show, which was great, but 5.5 hours is even too much for me. That someone that watches 13 hours of wrestling a week, standing up for 5.5 hours. I'm over 40 years old now, guys. I can't do that shit anymore.
Doesn't work for me, brother.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me, bro. I need to play that creative control card of progress. No, but in all seriousness, they put on it was a fantastic show. Loved it. But we will be there. I'm pretty sure they're in September. Forgive me, progress. Haven't got the dates in front of me because I'm half packed to go on holiday. But keep a lookout on that. Keep a lookout on us at HTT Buckle on X, Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast, all social media outlets. Dave, it's been great having you back on. I've really enjoyed talking wrestling with you as ever. It's, always a pleasure. Never a, what's that word? What's that saying? Always a something, never a try.
Never a chore.
That's the one. Thank you. We'll hopefully do this again before All In. We'll definitely be seeing each other at All In. And guys, keep a lookout on the channel, as I've said. But until next time, he has been the problem child, Mr. Dave Robinson. I have been your host, Adam Cousins, and this has been the AEW Dynamite review. Buckle down, stay safe. Good night.